Hello, everyone. This is Mr. Grogan, and this lesson is on Unit 2, Lesson 11, Styling Elements with CSS. This particular lesson is not quite as, I don't think as, not quite as difficult as Lesson 9 was, but there are some important things that you need to be made aware of, especially when it comes to CSS. As you can tell by the title of the lesson, most of this deals with the CSS portion. All right. And what you're going to find with this particular lesson is that you're going to learn how to add other properties onto CSS besides the ones that were covered in a lesson that we did on CSS earlier. In particular, this deals more with what you can do with what CSS can do with images, as well as what you can do with the background color of the website, as well as the background color of text too, if need be. All right. And this introduces is something called the body selector, which is I'm going to go into that in just a few moments here. The sections that you're responsible for are sections 4 through 9. All right. I'm going to go over a few of these sections with you, but most of this I think you will be able to do on your own. All right. So as I said, the new code that gets introduced, it's all this right here. I will make sure that this gets this particular PDF gets posted onto Google Classroom. These are the different layout properties that get introduced in this lesson, and they work sort of like the text properties that we did earlier. All right. But as you'll see, most of these deal with the borders, and also this can be applied especially with the images as well. All right, what you'll see here, there's the background color. Obviously, it's self-explanatory. Border color sets the color of a border of an image. Border width, it changes the border of an element. Border style, the style of the border. The width, the height. Float. Float kind of works like it works sort of like the text alignment. All right, it's sort of an alignment for images where you can set it to the left or to the right, that kind of thing. All right, and margins, they generate space around an element. All right, and also this. I'll also post this on here. It's a body styling. This is for the body element. Okay. Which I will go over in a moment, but that's an example of what it will look like on CSS. All right, and but I'll make sure that's posted as well. All right, so moving right along on section 2, I'm just going to quickly go over this. This is these are some sample websites. Again, these are the way how I kind of refer to this, and really what HTML is, it's kind of like how websites were designed when they first came out. I mean, a lot of like when we do the website project, what you're going to see is that you're going to have a lot of like the websites are going to turn out looking like, they did like websites did 20 years ago. I mean, keep in mind that HTML, it's the most commonly used of computer program that's used for programming websites, but they've been around for a while. And a lot of basic HTML code will create basic websites. Not that that's a bad thing, of course, but as you'll see here in the samples, this one was shown in an earlier lesson. Notice how in the prior lesson that we did on CSS that it had, the text was colored in, but the background wasn't colored in. All right, but you'll note, and there also weren't images. But you'll also see here that there is there's background color, and there are designs around each of the images. And notice that this particular website looks a lot better than the one we saw in the prior lesson. They touched it up a little bit. Okay, and this is all of the code that went into that. Again, notice that it's as you'll see, when there's more things added on there, the workspace becomes a lot. There's a lot more that shows up on the workspace. Okay, I mean, already this is about 40 lines of code. Okay. This sample right here, this is a pretty good one. Again, this is relatively basic. Okay, but notice how this this actually looks appropriate if you think about it. If you look at the website, it says help save the bees. Notice that the text is colored in yellow and the border color is yellow for the image. It works. I actually think this works pretty well. All right. Even though there's, as I said, there's not much on it. It's a very basic website, but it actually, the way one thing that you want to notice is that when you look at the color of the text, the color of the borders, okay, and even the background image, it actually makes perfect sense. Okay, because this is a website about bees, so bees are yellow and they're yellow and black basically. So the website itself is almost all yellow and black. All right. There's also a third one here. This sample here I'm not a big fan of. All right, mainly because I don't like the way how it looks. All right. But that's just one man's opinion here. All right. But one thing that they do want you to notice is that you can change the alignment of how the images look by using the flow property. And also notice that the background of the text is colored in too. All right. I'm not a big fan of the design of this, but really what you want to look at is like how everything's aligned. Okay. And that's how the code works over here. All right. So I would definitely, and when you're looking at all these websites here, these sample sites on section 2, look at how it's coded on the workspace. Okay. And notice how did they come up with this? Refer to the styles.css for each one too. All right. Because that'll give you an idea of what it'll look, why it looks the way it looks. Okay. So when you're looking at the websites, don't just look at the index.html. Look at the style.css for each one, okay? Because it actually, the reason why it looks the way it looks, all right, obviously the text makes a big difference here, but also notice how the color of the text, how some of the text is in italics, the text size is different, all right? It's all from here, okay? All of the style that went into this website all comes from CSS. All right. So moving right along, I'm going to quickly go over section 3 here. Okay. Basically, right here, you'll see it's a desserts of the world. All right. By looking at some of these images, it already makes me hungry. But two things you want to look at here is one is the workspace here on the index.html, but also look at the style.css, all right? Because the reason why all of their images have unique borders around them is because of what's in the image property here, okay? And you'll notice that there's a lot of properties that are entered in this rule set, okay? And not just how it's aligned, but also the width, all right? The margins, the border width, all right? Border radius. And notice that some of these, for instance, the width of the images here, it's set to 250 px. I went over this in a earlier video, but I'll just mention it again, that px, that stands for pixel, all right? Pixel is a unit of measurement, all right? And 1 pixel is 1 dot, essentially. So the higher the number for the pixels, the more dots, and the dots are all combined together. Okay, so the pixel, it's a unit of measurement on HTML. Okay, so as I said, section 3, you definitely want to look over this one too, because as you'll see, the next several sections, what you're going to be doing is you're actually going to be building on this website, okay, by adding new properties onto CSS, and you're going to see the difference that it makes on the website. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over section 4 here, and section 4. Okay, I'll go through section 4 here, and because I do want to point out. If you look at section 4 here, all right, you look at the directions, all right, it asks to find the code in the style sheets that's making the background of the entire page light blue. Then they want you to change the code to make the page a different color. and then they say try to change the background color of just the paragraphs. So what I'm going to show you here is you have to go to style.css, click on that on the file section here. All right. Now, this is the first thing that's listed here is the body. Okay. Now you'll see the other properties here are, the other rule sets are for H1, H2, image, paragraph. By this point, they should all be familiar to you, but there's no, for body, okay, what you want to do is think of it as the body tags, okay? All the text, all the images, all right? If you go inside the HTML page, all of like the words and images that go on the web page goes in between the body tags, okay? Notice that all of this text and all of these images, okay, all right, they're all in between the body tags, okay? So when you go to style.css, when you see the body, that means all of the rules inside this rule set, okay, are applicable to the entire website, okay? Now, notice that the background color is set to light blue. And if you look on the preview screen, voila, it's light blue. Now, if we were to change it to something else, let's say we'll go with yellow, all right? I select that, it looks like that. Okay, notice that the background color changes completely, all right? And when you're adding in a rule set, don't forget to, when you enter in rule inside the rule set, okay, make sure it's in between the brackets here. Make sure it's between this one and these two brackets. And once you enter it in, you follow it up with a colon and then the value over here, which is the yellow, and then end it with the semicolon. Don't forget the semicolon, okay? Because if you're adding more rules inside the rule set, it's not gonna work properly if you don't end each one with a semicolon. All right. So there you go. Now, like I said, change the background color to whatever you want. I wouldn't recommend using a super bright color. All right. Yellow is, it's not too bad, but maybe use something a little bit darker, like brown or maybe like a light brown color like that. Okay. You don't want something too bright because it'll hurt the eyes. All right. So it also says here to change the background color of just the paragraphs. Now, to do that, okay, when you use the body element here, okay, this is any rule that's inside the body element is applicable to the entire website. However, okay, if you set up other properties down here, they can override the body element. Okay, so I'll show you what I mean by that. All right. So if I go down to the paragraph element right down here, okay, if you scroll all the way down to the bottom of the workspace, okay, you'll see the paragraph element. So what we're going to do is there's 3 rules inside that rule set: the text alignment, font family, and font size. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add I'm going to hit enter here so that way I have a space, and I am going to put in background color. Okay. And whenever you start typing on here, a drop-down menu will appear, and then after first few letters, the option that you're looking for will come up. We want background color, okay? And you can make it again whatever color you want. Again, I wouldn't recommend using the same color as the background color, obviously, but try that. All right, we'll end that with a semicolon. Oops. All right. And you'll notice that anything that has any text inside the index that has a paragraph tag around it is colored in a different color than the rest of the web page. Okay. The reason being is that because inside the paragraph rule set, I put in a rule in there for the background color to be a different color than the rest of the document. Okay. So that's how that works. All right. And you'll see it's applicable. So that change of color overrides the body element. All right. But again, you have to put that rule in order for it to be applicable. All right. Once you're done with that, then you go right to the next section. You go into section 5. Okay. And what you're going to do is it says to find the body rule set in the style sheet. Okay. And what they want you to do here is they want you to apply a couple of properties. Okay. Inside the body element, okay, in particular text alignment and color. All right, and so we'll just quickly do that. Oops. All right, and so we go to the style.css, and it says, yeah, just add like a text align and see what happens. Line, right? And if we wanted to write a line, there you go. Okay. Now notice how it doesn't. Notice how that there's a text align, right? And and you notice how that when I got rid of the value there, it goes back. Everything goes back. Okay. So all right. And notice that it's not really applicable to the paragraphs. All right. Right. But you'll notice that anything like in H1, H2, okay. Whatever you change the text alignment, to the right, okay. You'll notice that anything with an H1 or an H2 tag on it will, that text will move over to the right-hand side when I shift the text alignment to the right, but not so much the paragraph. And the reason being is because there's already a rule in there that all text alignment is set to the left. Okay. So that's why the paragraph didn't change. Okay. So, all right. And they also want you to add color to it too. Okay. So yeah, that changes the color. Okay. I'm not going to use that as a color. We'll go. I don't even like that. Plum might be a little bit better. Maybe not. Okay. Well, either which way, just change the color to whatever it is that you want. Okay. And right. And so you just do the same. Notice how the color changes for not only the H1, but the H2, but also the paragraph too, because there's no color that's been set on either of those properties there. So, okay. So that's how that section 5 works. The rest of this you can pretty much do on your own. Section 6, okay, is all right, deals with the float property. Okay, again, you just go to style.css and add a float property. Okay, section 7, all right, that's the height property and the width property. Okay, just follow the directions there. All right, and section 8. There are 6 options there. Just pick any one out of the 6. All right. And section 9 is what they have you do here. Okay. This one you can kind of play around with it a little bit, but what they want you to do is they want you to give the web page a background color, make all the images go to the right of the page, make all of the text a different color, and add some other styles to it. All right. So it's basically like section 9 is just applying what you've learned in this lesson. All right. So it's, as I said, this lesson is fairly simple. And, obviously you will need to have done the other 3 lessons up to this point before trying out lesson 11. But once you figure out the other lessons that we've done on HTML and CSS, lesson 11 is pretty easy to do. But if you have any questions on it, please let me know. Thank you very much.